So, as I said, Back to the Future was a placeholder. This is a follow-on from the presentation I gave in February, which was all about spelunking. And basically that was the porting of the Swinburne text adventure game that we take our OO students through. I ported it from C# to Swift. And in the process, I thought, how do I get a really massive, colossal cave to test this text adventure? And so I went down the rabbit hole of the colossal cave that was written in Fortran in 1975 and ported that across. But in getting ready for this, I discovered that Roberta Williams, who is one of my heroes in life, she wrote some of the very, very early adventure games, has just ported Colossal Cave to, I forget which platform it is, and it's really good. But I'm here tonight to talk about what comes after you've been spelunking, and after you've dug down, you get to archaeology. So I hope you're all ready, because archaeology is one of my favourite topics, and that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. But in February I said my next challenge was going to be to help this lady. And this is the event where you and I met for the first time. And she had an app that she had built for her in 2011, both on the iPhone and the iPad. And she'd paid an enormous amount of money. We could all retire on it, probably, for this guy to build it. And I think she had hoped she could conquer the world. In the end, she has just basically got an audience of the school that she runs and the students that enroll each semester, and she takes them through that. So it's a cohort of 200 users, and then they disappear. But she's kept it alive now for 12 or plus years. But of course, every so often, it gets a bit cranky, and Apple tweaks things, and then it has to be renovated, and that's what she has to do. So she reached out yet once again to me in February and said, can you help? And I thought, well, I've got a bit more experience now, maybe I can. The problem was my resources were 3 books that my sons had left behind when they left the house on how Objective-C works. I had no skills. My access to resources was 0 until the February drinks night, or was it the January drinks night, and this guy turned up from nowhere, just joined, I think, the REA group, and said, God, I'm so glad to be leaving Objective-C behind. I said, excuse me, can you just step over here for 1 minute? And he gave me some advice which was in line with what I was expecting. It's no good. You just have to rewrite the whole thing. So that's what I set out to do. My information source was the 2017 copy of the code, not the code, sorry, the app. I had the code in a zip file, but it couldn't compile. I had no specifications. The only requirement the client gave me was iPhone first, iPad last. And there were a few cryptic comments amongst the code. There was no explanation about how it worked. So my challenge as an archaeologist, going on a dig, was to out a Rosetta Stone. Sorry, have I been... Shall I go back to the beginning?
No, keep going, it's fine.
How can I do a dig without a Rosetta Stone? What's the translation mechanism from Objective-C to Swift? Might be easy for people like Amy, but for me, it was terribly hard. So, the size of the challenge also was 11 model classes, 5, 21, 15 views, depending upon which platform, and a ton of assets. The assets I didn't have to worry about because they are easily to move across. And there were a whole lot of external libraries that the guy had to pull and use on back in 2011 for things like JSON and skinnable apps and stuff like that. But I did have, in the Xcode, I could look at the database, So I knew the model, and by using the app on my the 2017 version on my iPhone, could see what the view was and the flow and the kind of thing that Ryan was talking about. How quickly can you get to what you want to do? The only thing that was missing was the logic. Well, how hard can that be? Pretty hard, as it turned out. Because I should have said behind this was we gave it to when we were teaching Swift at Swinburne, one of the exercises we gave them was write a quiz app. Well, of course, that's only like those two screens that they had to write. And this was a lot more complex. So this is what it took from the diagnosis and the point of talking to Vincent at the pub and saying, do you think I should throw this thing away? Yep. To building the database, that took 2 months because I've got to do my daytime job as well. Then the user interfaces, we got Happy Path going. So that was the onboarding, doing the quizzes and so on. And then it was all the branch iterations and failure situations and stuff like that. So eventually, come September, we got it on the stall. So, oops, wrong way. We got there. From this, written in 2011, to now something that's more, but 50. Still with a lot of the imagery and so on that the client loved and had poured her heart into it, including songs that she'd written that had to be included with the lessons and so on. And so I have a happy friend. It was rocky time in the middle. She was getting very grumpy with me, and her tutors and students, and they started using it this week. So what was the technical result? In Swift, 22 views, 34 classes, and so on. Lessons learned. Greenaway's rule of thumb still remains true. Whatever my first estimate is, multiply by 5. Source code management needed to be very fine-grained, mainly because Renault is not here. And automated string testing, by string, of course, I mean the happy path, the exception path, all that sort of thing. God, I wish I'd had that. Because to do the whole thing through, I have to answer 800 questions and do that, takes days. And even though I try to get rid of the workload and pass it on to other people and get people who are better than me to do the work, they all faded. So I became the key man risk, which is not good. So, my thanks. Vincent, who gave me the great advice. Brittany, who helped build a bit of it for me, but then she disappeared. That's her app, by the way, which is a bit of like your countdown app. Hers is all oriented to how do I get myself to Disney World and which rides am I going to go on and stuff like that. But it built the budget for going to Disney World. And you guys. Without you giving me the support, the hints and tips and stuff like that, I wouldn't have got through those 8 months. So thank you all very much. That's it.
Well done. Good work, Ed. Any questions?
Yep. Don't worry.